Sup, Dad?
Welcome to This Dad Reads, a bookish podcast covering numerous genres and fandoms. I'm your host, Jason, and on today's episode, I'll be talking reading goals for the new year, introducing a brand new book segment, and we'll be joined by Fabio Fiori of Tatooine Times to discuss all things Star Wars in 2023. Welcome back to This Dad Reads, everyone. Before I jump into episode 2, I just want to say the sincerest thanks for all the support that I got on my first episode last month. I received many kind text messages, Instagram DMs, support from just friends out there in the bookish community. You guys are awesome. I couldn't have had the idea even for this thing without having a community of people out there who just love books and love talking about books and want to find other people who do the same. So thank you. I am excited for what's to come, and I'm super thankful for everyone out there who's going on this journey with me. Secondly, I'd like to say Happy New Year. It's 2023. I hope 2022 wrapped up well for you with holiday celebrations, vacations, spending quality time with family, or maybe some quality time with books like I did. As we kind of jump into this new year and make plans and look ahead to what we want to accomplish, I hope that we can achieve everything we're wanting to do. So I don't do New Year's resolutions. In my experience, the minute you name something a resolution, it's doomed to fail. So instead, I want to talk about, dreams and goals looking ahead to 2023. So I know a lot of us in the reading bookish world, we set reading goals for the year. For 2022, I set myself a goal of 50 books, and I beat that by 15, which I was honestly surprised by. So I kind of wanted to start the bar low and achieve that. Of course, I'm tempted to raise my goal for next year because I kind of beat it. Because I can do it again, right? I did it once, I can do it again. But, I'm a realist to the extreme. So I think I'm going to split the difference in 2023. I'm going to set my goal for 60 books this year. And I saw a number of year-end posts out there in the bookish world talking about achievements and goals. So the end of last month, I threw a question out on my Instagram story asking, did you achieve your 2022 reading goals, and what's your goal for 23? I really just wanted to know how other people were doing and see where they're setting their goals for the next year. So I'm going to dive in and read a couple of responses I got because I think it's really interesting. So Alex Graboyes read 93 books with a goal of 65, and that's super impressive, first of all. 93 books, that's awesome. Congrats to you, Alex. He also told me that he's hoping to read between 30 and 40 in 2023 due to his life circumstances being different than last year. So all the best to you, my friend. Rachel Guthrow had a goal of 100 books, and she also beat her goal and read 119. Woo! That's epic. She is setting a goal of 120, so raising it by 1 in 2023. Good luck, Rachel. I know you can do it. Terry Houston also beat his goal. He read 77 out of 75 books. Awesome, Terry. So there was a number of people out there who beat their goals, but also a lot of folks responded to me saying that for one reason or another, they didn't read as much as they wanted to or fell short of their goal this year. And to those out there who had a similar reading year, I want to just congratulate you on the books that you did read. Any reading is winning in my book, and whatever your goals are, whatever you end up doing, you have my full support no matter what 2023 brings. So here's to all the best for all of us in the new year, new books, and to achieving our reading goals. We can do it. So now I want to jump into a segment that I'd like to make a part of every episode. I'm calling it Last Current Next. Each month, I'll be talking through the last book or books that I read, what I am currently reading right now, and what is next on my list to read. So let's do this thing. The last book I read was The Art of the Mandalorian Season 2 by Phil Szostak. I'd gotten this for my birthday last year in July, and I just never carved out the time to dig into it, but I wanted to make sure that I read it before the year was out. In general, I enjoyed it. I love art books. I'm an art book fan. For me, this book had a lot more technical behind-the-scenes stuff in terms of production design, kind of ship design, which was really cool, but I tend to enjoy art books when they focus more on the character art and kind of the conceptualization of characters and art. So there was a lot of ship and scenery stuff, which was cool to see, but my eyes and my desires usually go more towards character-driven stuff. I also really liked being able to hear firsthand from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni on how they went into crafting season 2. And it was cool seeing kind of the overlap on, season 1 was airing while they were in production of season 2. So it was really interesting to kind of get that sense of the train was going as they were continuing to build it and not really knowing if what they were planning for season 2 was going to track with what the audience was going to vibe with for the show. The last novel I quote-unquote read was The Battle of Jeddah, which is the newest High Republic audio drama, which just came out on January 3rd, 2023. But thanks to my friends at Penguin Random House Audio, I received it early in late 2022. So I actually listened to it a lot faster than I expected to. I'm not an audiobook person, but the production value on The Battle of Jeddah, having different voice actors doing all the different characters, made it just so much more immersive. I wrote a full review on The Battle of Jeddah, which is published on thisdadreads.com, so definitely check that out if you're interested. But in short, author George Mann did an outstanding job, I thought, of bringing numerous Phase 2 storylines together, culminating in a really action-packed, emotional, adventurous story. I particularly liked Keth's arc. I kind of got some mini Luke Skywalker vibes, as he's kind of a seemingly inconsequential church worker, young guy who goes to do big things for Jeddah and who ultimately sacrifices quite a bit for his beliefs. And just his relationship he built with the Jedi was really cool, and I really kind of just connected to him a lot, and I feel like he was a standout character in that book. On to what I'm currently reading. I am reading Wanderers by Chuck Wendig. So, as you might know, Chuck wrote the Star Wars Aftermath trilogy, which I really enjoyed, and late in 2022 I actually got approved for his latest novel, Wayward, on NetGalley. Well, little did I know that the book I got approved for, Wayward, is actually a sequel to his 2019 book, Wanderers, so that is what I'm reading now. And full disclosure, I'd actually tried reading Wanderers one time already in late 2022, but I realized I didn't have enough time to carve out to get it read before I had to return it. I actually checked it out from the library, so I'm giving it a go again right now, and I'm actually really enjoying it so far. It's an ensemble book about a mysterious phenomenon that's happening in the US that has global ramifications. There's these people who are inflicted with a mysterious illness that kind of makes them sleepwalk, and they're walking towards something of unknown origin, and it's potentially a new epidemic or pandemic for the world. So it's kind of the point of view from the characters whose family members are the sleepwalkers, and then kind of the scientific AI side of the people who are trying to figure out what it is and what it's doing. So I'll definitely have more to say about Wanderers in my next episode, but I am reading Wanderers because my next book will be its sequel, Wayward. So I will be reviewing Wayward probably in the next month or so stay tuned on my thoughts on Wendig's duology, which maybe it will be a trilogy. I don't know. There's 2 books out in this series now, and I did actually find out as I was doing some research online that the rights to it have been sold as like a TV series, so I think that's in development now, which could be really exciting. So we'll find out together. More to come on that. So that's Last Current Next. And after the break, I'm going to be joined by Fabio Fiori of TatooineTimes.com to discuss Star Wars in 2023. I'll be right back.
Need the perfect book to start the new year? Then look no further than This Dad Reads Amazon store. My dad's made it super easy to browse and shop for a ton of different books, from Star Wars to fantasy and a bunch more. Visit This Dad Reads Amazon store at amazon.com/shop/thisdadreads. That's amazon.com/shop/thisdadreads. Make 2023 your best reading year ever, thanks to This Dad Reads Amazon store.
And I'm back, and with me again in the studio today is my droid pal, KC78. How's it going, KC? Well, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself so far. Did you have a good Christmas and New Year? Oh, that's good. Yeah, I know. We all need a little time to recharge. I'm glad you're able to get some of that in. So do you have everything set up to have our guests join us remotely? Great, you got all your connections going. All right, well, let's fire it up. Today we've got a special guest joining us to talk Star Wars in 2023. Founder and creative director of TatooineTimes.com, Fabio Fiori. Welcome to the show, Fabio. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Definitely. How was your holiday and your New Year?
It was great. Just wrapping things up around the house and also with the site. So it's good to be back in 2023 and busier than ever.
Yeah,
but
for
not
sure.
Complaining.
That December 28th comic book release was really intense.
Yeah, it was pretty rough, but it was good. I'm not complaining again. When they release 5 Star Wars comics, like that, it's kind of a shocker.
It was a group effort, though. We did it. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, no, and I always like reading Star Wars comics, anyways. So
100%.
It's just the process of reading it. You reviewing it, you and Lucas reviewing it, and then proofreading them, all that stuff. It takes a little bit, but we managed. And starting the 2023, great. I already have a few things going on with the site, and then it's gonna surprise us with unexpected things.
Definitely. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on. You're kind of my first guest discussion, and I couldn't think of anyone better to have if we're talking about Star Wars in 2023 than you. So I appreciate you taking the time to come and just chat and talk about what's to come this year. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I've been waiting for this for a long time. I know that you wanted to start a podcast for quite some time. So I'm glad that you just, jumped right into it, and you're doing great. So I'm here to kind of support you and also to have a conversation with you, like for longer than 30 minutes, because
yes.
We're both really busy with
like screaming kids in the background, or like
exactly. Parenthood is kind of demanding. Let's just say that.
To say the least.
It's good to like allocate some time to just us talk about Star Wars and the kids are sleeping.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, at least on my
exactly
on my end.
My kids are at Dollar Tree with my wife. That's how we get them to get out of the house. They go to Dollar Tree.
Exactly.
Well, before we dive in anymore, we're already talking. Why don't you kind of introduce yourself, who you are, tell us a little bit about kind of how you came to kind of start Tatooine Times, and a little bit about what the site is.
Yeah, so my name is Fabio Fiori. I'm the founder and creative director of Tatooine Times, or TatooineTimes.com. Tatooine Times kind of was born from my experience at Star Wars Celebration in Orlando in 2017, and I kind of had this urge to create something that was for Star Wars fans, because after that experience, just so you know, that was my first Star Wars Celebration and my first convention period. So I was just so inspired by all the fans, and I was kind of new to it. I mean, I was a huge Star Wars fan for a long time, but I was never like in the fandom like I am now. So I started a website, and it took a long time to get to this point where it's like its own entity. But I guess nowadays we, it's a Star Wars site that, promotes and celebrates, artists and authors and creators of, the galaxy far, far away. So we review pretty much everything that is Star Wars literature, from comics to books, and to other things as well. And then also we do interviews. So every once in a while we get a chance to talk to authors again, and some comic book artists and actors that were involved in Star Wars projects, and and that's basically it. And then we occasionally have some articles talking about our experiences, events such as Celebration that you attended last year, and and sometimes even kind of thinking about kind of one-off articles talking about Asian representation in Star Wars and other things that matter to me, at least, and it kind of gives me a chance to kind of step out of the review zone as well. And then, just kind of enjoy it and kind of escape from reality and, and daily lives. And, me as a father, what it feels like. It's a blessing, but it's also very challenging and exhausting.
Really? I didn't know that. Not at all.
Right? Especially when they're very little. So that's it. I try to really take the time to do this on the side because I have a full-time job and I'm a full-time dad. So it takes a lot of the time off of me, but it's definitely rewarding.
And it's so fun. It's so fun. I've told you this so many times just in our own conversations, and we can talk a little bit about how we kind of connected and how I jumped on board. But I if it wasn't for, kind of doing this on the side and the kind of quote unquote, I don't want to call it a job, but whenever I get a comic or something I'm going to review for you, it gives me that, it feels more like a job than something that I really want to get done and do it well. And it provides me with so much joy because it's something that I get to do that is engaged in something that I love. And that's not always the case, in my day-to-day and in most working adults' day-to-day. So I'm super thankful for being able to participate in that way. And it's been so fun. And kind of like what you said, having kids, young kids, my kids are older than yours, or you're one right now, but still it's full on all the time. So, so going back just a little bit, I'm creeping up on kind of making my decision to join the kind of Bookstagram book review community this month. January is my 2-year anniversary, I guess you would say, of me kind of jumping in. It was very shortly after I joined and I think I reviewed one book or something. You reached out to me really quickly after that and was like, hey, you want to write reviews for Tattooing Times? So we've been doing, I would say my experience on Bookstagram and with Tattooing Times, they almost mirror each other. So it's almost been 2 years and it's been so much fun. And I do get some questions sometimes from people saying how many people run the site. So maybe we can just talk about that a little bit. What are kind of the back end stuff that maybe some people might be interested about? Who writes the reviews? What does the team kind of look like?
So currently our team is, consists of you, Jason, and also Lucas, he's awesome. I've connected with Lucas a long time ago, and I think right around the same time as you, maybe a little later. I don't remember exactly when everything happened because it's been so long. So Lucas basically reviews he was reviewing all of the Marvel comics, but you jumped in to kind of help out because, like you said, last month. There were quite a few comics in a week. 5 a week is a little too extreme for one person. So between comics and sometimes books, depending on what comes, comes our way, then it's just the three of us for now. And then occasionally we have some guest writers. I know that Rowena did a lot of the book reviews in the past. And to me, it's more if you want to do it, if you're interested in reviewing books that you really enjoy, then that it works out. I don't really want to push anybody to write reviews just because, we gotta cover all the content, right? I used to, in the past, before you joined, I was almost the person that did almost all the content, and it was becoming extremely exhausting, and kind of hard to keep up with, because it was comics every week and books, and it worked out for a little while, but it's good to have help, and so I think it's a good thing to have people to help and also to share, the books and comics and everything that comes our way.
For sure. And to just geek out about, right? I mean, we get to We have the privilege and pleasure, like
Exactly.
you said, to get stuff early, which is super fun. And to just like geek out about that, before everyone else gets to. It's a cool little perk.
Yeah, and then also like to me, it's like if I don't get those review copies or for books and comics, I'll probably get to them, but it gives me kind of a motivation
Yep.
to keep up with it.
Yep.
Otherwise, obviously financially, I wouldn't be able to sustain
Correct.
it because it's a lot of comics and occasionally books. So it's really nice to be able to get those copies and then as a way to kind of pay back, and that's our reviews, right?
For sure, for sure.
You send us a lot of the comics, and then we kind of promote and try to do our best to showcase those comics, because a lot of them, like there are a lot of people involved, especially in comics, a lot of artists and people that do lettering and colorists, and they all deserve the spotlight.
For
So,
sure. And, as we kind of wrap up just talking about Tattooing Times and just getting to know you a little bit, I'm just going to pat you on the back or pat us on the back more. I think the site is gorgeous. Like, if you've never checked out tattooingtimes.com, please check it out. Like, it's clean. It's beautiful. We just got some new art by Ronnie Jensen that looks amazing. So I'm just going to say, I think it's one of the most beautiful, like, Star Wars sites out there. So we got that going for us, I would say.
Yep, definitely. And Ronnie, we've been collaborating since almost the beginning, and without Ronnie's art, it wouldn't be as cool and as immersive, as themed as it is. So, thank you, Ronnie.
So true. Well, we're at the start of a new year. It's 2023. The main reason I wanted to have you on is to talk about all of the fun, cool stuff we have coming our way in the Star Wars universe, from comics to books to series to stuff we don't even know about. So I just want to talk through our expectations, our excitement about what's to come. So let's start with TV shows first. I know The Bad Batch just started earlier this month, season 2. We also have The Mandalorian season 3 coming. We have the Ahsoka series coming, and we have Skeleton Crew coming. So I don't think we're going to get anything else this year. That's a lot. So Fabio, I'm going to kick it to you first. Which one of these series are you the most looking forward to, or maybe just the most excited about?
I think definitely the Ahsoka series, for many reasons. The first one is that I've been a fan of the character since the very beginning. I loved her in Clone Wars and Rebels, and and then her appearance in live action with Rosario Dawson. So I'm a fan of all the different versions of Ahsoka. Obviously Ashley Eckstein did an incredible job, providing the voice and the character itself in the animated series, and then now Rosario Dawson is doing the same in live action. So I'm really excited about that for two reasons. Well, maybe more than that. First of all, we'll get to see Grand Admiral Thrawn in live action. It's gonna happen.
Yes.
We already know.
We know what's happening.
Right. And then finding out what happened to Ezra Bridger, which is we're probably not gonna get a lot of that, but at least a little bit to understand, what happens between Rebels and this show. And then obviously The Mandalorian. That's been one of my favorites ever since Star Wars started on television. So for obviously many reasons, for the storytelling, and then the performances from the actors and the stunt performers and the creature performers. I got a chance to talk to two people. They worked on the shows. Well, several shows. Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. And I just love the aspect of the behind the scenes, and really discover what happens, like when they're filming these things, and then how it all comes together. So I'm excited about those, and then obviously I'm excited about everything Star Wars. Maybe some things I might not like as much, but I still watch everything anyways.
Of course.
What about you, Jason?
Yeah, I would echo that. I think I'm most excited about Ahsoka as well. I don't have as much of a deep-seated love for the character that I know a lot of people do. I like her character. I enjoy it. But I think it's just moving what's happened in animation to live action, like having a little bit clear of a line from one to the other. And we got hinted at that with obviously Ahsoka coming in Mandalorian in season 2, but I think this is drawn and to books, right? Thrawn has never appeared in live action ever. And so many people, I'm going to say a blanket statement. So many people don't know who Thrawn is, maybe in the general Disney Plus Star Wars viewing audience. Of course, if you've read the books and if you watched Rebels, you're familiar with the character. But if you haven't engaged with him in the number of books that he's appeared in for decades now, there's a huge amount of hype to have him show up. And especially how that storyline with Ezra, right? So just seeing some of those people that we've never seen in live action is really exciting to me.
Yeah.
And at Star Wars Celebration, I was privileged enough to be in the room when they showed the Ahsoka teaser, which was mind-blowing. People were freaking out. So, and just, having the whole Rebels crew, there's going to be more Rebels people show up. Obviously, Sabine is going to be one of them, which is going to be super cool. So, yeah, I think I'm really stoked for Skeleton Crew. I think last year I was really surprised with how much I loved Andor. And I was anticipating it obviously as a Star Wars series, but I was surprised by how much I loved it. So I'm excited for something that I don't know anything about. I like being surprised. And so I don't want to know that much. I'm sure we'll get more details as it gets closer, but the amount of mystery around it right now is exciting to me.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So let's move on to books and comics. So this spring already, the Battle of Jeddah just came out from the High Republic Phase 2. So the High Republic Phase 2 will be wrapping up probably midway through the year, May-ish. And then we're going to jump into Phase 3 starting in the fall. So what are you excited about for, I guess, the High Republic? We'll start just there.
I mean, I've been excited about the High Republic since the beginning. So
yeah,
there hasn't been a time where I'm like, I'm not so excited about this. So every book, every content that comes out of that publishing initiative has been my favorite. Obviously, as you can see in the background, I'm collecting pretty much everything that has the High Republic logo on it, except for the special editions, whatnot. But I know
you can see behind me too. Sorry, this isn't a visual podcast,
yeah.
But behind me as well is my High Republic shelf.
Yep, I still need to finish my shelves and everything. I'm still waiting a piece, but once I get it, I'll hang up that High Republic post that you got me. But yeah, so I mean, first of all, the Battle of Jeddah, amazing audio drama. I think probably one of the best ones that they've produced yet. I mean, I'm a fan of Dooku Jeddah Lost, but I think this was the story that we all been waiting for in terms of scale and kind of for lack of a better word, epicness of that wave of books. So that's been exciting, and then obviously continuing on with the comics, the Blade, the Marvel run, the adventures, but what I'm really excited about is Cataclysm by Lydia Kang, which is gonna be the continuation of Convergence from Zoraida Cordova, and I'm really excited about Axel Greylark's continuation of the story arc or whatever, his story, because it was kind of left. Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited about that. What about you?
I am equally as excited. I've never read anything by Lydia, so I'm excited to just have another author's voice kind of in the mix, which is exciting to me. But I think I'm most excited about Cavan's young adult coming out in May, Path of Vengeance.
I forgot.
It's okay. You can
Cavan's.
Still be excited about it. I'll just say it.
Cavan's YA novel. I mean, let's just say that Path of the Sea was probably one of the best Star Wars books of the year, for
I
sure,
agree.
and one of the best ever.
I agree.
And it's a YA. So hey guys, read YA novels. Please.
It's my goal this year to kind of like break down the walls of the misconceptions about YA. Like it's a legit way to read books. And if you've had like a closed mind to it before, just let it go. Like 2023 is your year, just let it go. Like just do it. And it's Star Wars. Like what better way to engage in a genre that maybe you don't read, but it's Star Wars. And yeah, Path of Deceit. I love just seeing people's responses to it, either online or people just like being able to watch people as they read it or listen to their responses. It's just the best. It's so good. So I'm excited to have that Path of kind of storyline finish. I really like the way Phase 2 has been set up. Yeah. They have these kind of like partnered or twin kind of tales being told within the YA middle grade and the adult novel. So I really like that kind of through line with those. So I'm super excited about that. But also having said that, there's so much that we don't know about what's to come in Phase 3. Like obviously, I think we're going to get back to the people that we grew to love from Phase 1. Like Bell is my guy. Like I love Bell, Zettifar, and Ember, and just picking back up where we were. And I've been surprised with how much I've really, loved Phase 2. I mean, I know they kind of pulled the rug a little bit, and I've heard them say that they wanted to kind of do that Star Wars thing where they start telling a story and then go back and do a prequel, which I think a lot of people were kind of like, all right, like that's fine. But I've really loved it, and I'm excited to see where it goes, but then also jump back and connect with the people that we left off from last time. Burry needs to be alive. Burryaga, come on.
Right. And I mean, Keith Trennis, obviously we're gonna go back to those characters because, well, number one, Keith Trennis is one of the Lost 20.
Yeah.
From what we've heard from Calvin Scott, and I don't think he's confirmed it, but kind of confirmed it. So we will see the end of her arc through literature, and then obviously the Acolyte series.
I was just thinking that. Yep.
That's going to be basically at the end. I don't know if it's going to be like part of Phase 3, the Phase 3 timeline, or if it's going to be beyond Phase 3. But it's definitely going to be past that. Yep. So I'm just hoping that they don't, they keep the literature folks kind of involved in some way.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's two different worlds in terms of just how the nature of it, right? But
some of them are screenwriters too. Like I know Kevin writes screenplays, so let's just say that prayer now that they're involved, because I 100% agree that they should be. Yeah, and we hope that they are.
Yeah, I just hope that they honor all that storytelling from the books, and they don't move too far away from what we've experienced.
Sure,
obviously we understand that. Like not everybody's going to read the books because there's a lot of books to, get caught up with the Acolyte.
Right.
But, just give me some stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that they'll do what's right by the fans. And I think that, I don't think the publishing side is going to, go quietly, as it were, when it comes to like production of stuff like that. And so even just Michael Siglain and just seeing the authors and their, how they engage with, seeing it firsthand at Star Wars Celebration last year, like it's a passionate group of folks that are probably the most quiet people online, or the people who are just chatting about books on their own. It's the live action stuff, that usually gets a lot more responses and a lot more people talking, but the High Republic fandom is very passionate and very engaged. So I don't think they would want to do us wrong by not keeping some sort of connection to that,
Yeah, I agree. Fingers crossed.
For sure. Well, there's a whole bunch of other books that are on the slate. Well, I was going to say a whole bunch. There's a couple books we know about happening this year. I'm assuming we'll get a couple surprises as well. I know last year we didn't know about every single book that was coming out when the year started. So are there any other books coming out this year that you're particularly excited about?
Let's see. There are a few, right? So Battle Scars for sure.
There's Battle Scars. There's
the Inquisitor book from
by Delilah.
Yeah, so that's exciting. I mean, I'm excited about all of them. Number one, Delilah's book. Please remind me the title.
Rise of the Red Blade.
Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah Dawson. I'm excited about getting an Inquisitor story, you know, on paper, because it's like, you know, we've gotten a lot of it from Charles Soule's Darth Vader series, comic series, and obviously Rebels, and now Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So to me, to get a new character within that Inquisitorious group of people is really exciting. So I'm really excited about that, and obviously Battle Scars by Sam Maggs.
For sure.
And whatever comes next, you know, I mean, I'm sure we'll get some more out of books from Abrams, and I love those every time. So, and yeah.
Yeah, and going back to High
Anything.
Republic, I know we kind of wrapped on that already, but that resource or encyclopedia, the visual encyclopedia from DK, whew, with Phil Noto's cover,
Yeah.
like that's a must, and like you have to have that. I'm really excited about that actually.
Anything, like I said, again, you know, anything that has that logo, I'm gonna
will own
buy,
it.
or you know, I'm gonna review. I'm gonna have it on my shelf. So
Heck yeah, me too.
yeah, whether it's comic or book or anything else. So
I think last year I was particularly surprised with some of the kind of just one-off novels that came out, like Padawan, even The Princess and the Scoundrel. Like I really enjoyed a lot of those, and those were ones that kind of just got announced, you know, out of the blue, and popped all over the timeline. I like stuff like that. I like telling those one-off stories. So I'm assuming we'll get probably in the lead up to or at Celebration London this year, they'll be announcing a whole bunch of those, as well as like the comic runs that are going to come. I mean, I know there's the continuation of some of the series, but I love telling those little story arcs. Like the Obi-Wan series last year from Marvel was really great as just kind of like a one-off story arc. So it's kind of those, however they're told, whether it's in a novel form, adult novel, YA, or kind of a comic book miniseries, or even like a new ongoing series. Again, I think I'm just excited about the surprises that we have to come, you know?
yeah, and I think with Star Wars comics, especially Marvel comics, we've seen so many great storylines and so many characters coming out of those that are not to be missed. Like a lot of times, I know people maybe don't like comics or they don't like books. You know, they don't want to jump from one media, you know, one type of medium to the other. But I mean, the comics, I know it's hard to keep up with all of them, but I would definitely check out the Dr. Aphra series by Lisa Wong. That's one of my favorite runs, because I know that we've had already one run prior to that. And then obviously Dr. Aphra was introduced in the Darth Vader series. So that's definitely a must for somebody who wants to get into comics, Star Wars comics, and they don't know where to start. Because it's kind of there are some references to the other series and whatnot, but it's a good start. It's a kind of a standalone arc or mini arcs, a standalone story that you don't have to know everything about everything to get into it.
But it is overwhelming, so I understand that. But I'd agree with you. Like, if just pick a title and go back as far as you want. I check a lot of them out from my library's like digital app, so you can even do it on the cheap if you don't want to buy them all. Like I want that Aphra omnibus. I really want it because I haven't read Aphra yet. I'm behind on that, but it's expensive. That omnibus is so expensive. But your local library, the Libby app is a great resource for that too. You can catch up really quick. So if comics is, I feel like I'm maybe like 85% committed to all the comics. There's a couple lines I haven't read or titles, but my real handicap in terms of Star Wars is video games. And so I know Jedi Fallen Order is coming out this year and it's really highly anticipated, and we have the novel based on that. So I have some homework to do. I don't even have a system. Like, I'm not going to play this game. We've talked about this. I'm going to watch a playthrough on YouTube. That's my homework. But maybe you can kind of talk about that from the gamer side, like talking about the excitement around that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I'm a gamer, but I'm not like a 24/7 gamer or like even a daily gamer anymore. But I did used to, play Star Wars games all the time. Like one of my all-time favorite Star Wars game is Jedi Outcast. And it's still a great video game that you can play on the Nintendo Switch. Now they have it on the Switch, and also Jedi Academy. Those are one of the best Star Wars games that you can play. And then obviously Knights of the Old Republic. There are so many games that it's never too late to get into. You don't need to, the book or the video game comes out this year. You need to play it right when it comes out. These games age so well that you can go back and revisit them years later. I played Jedi Fallen Order when it came out, and I thought it was such a great story. Cal Kestis was one of my all-time favorite characters, and I'm excited to see the continuation of his story, and through the new video game and also through the book. So that's exciting. And then that's basically it. There aren't a lot of new video games that come out that are Star Wars related. I think it's because they're trying to be more conscious about what they put out there. They don't want to go like Disney Plus TV shows where they're just gonna keep doing them like nonstop. But I think video games are a little trickier to execute because it's not just something that anybody can consume. You have to be a gamer, and there are a lot of complexities in making a video game. So
for sure,
not just storytelling, but actual mechanics of the game. So
gotcha. It's not that similar. I mean, you were talking about video games. I'm a big tabletop game fan. So I know there's a new game coming out, a tabletop card game from Fantasy Flight Games called Star Wars. It's the Star Wars deck building game. So I'm excited about that. Fantasy Flight kind of has a interesting history with Star Wars titles. I'll just say that. But that's one that I'm excited about. I really like 2-player card games because it's easier. You don't have to have a whole group of people to play them. So I don't know when that is coming out. I know it's coming out this year. So that's something I'm excited about. I was a big Star Wars Destiny fan when it first came out, and that game had a very unfortunate trajectory. I know there's still a fan community out there playing. So I know that there's like a desire and a demand for Star Wars tabletop games. I'm not so far in that I do the miniatures thing, so I know X-Wing's a huge thing and all that stuff, but I'm particularly excited about this one. I'm hoping my 8-year-old son can maybe even play it with me, so I'm excited about that. Something I also forgot to talk about was more waves of the Essential Legends collection is coming our way. They've already announced the next wave. That includes the Yoda book, Hard Contact, Book 1 of the Republic Commando series, and then Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void. So I'm not a huge Legends person. I've read and reviewed them for Tatooine Times, and I've really liked some of these books, like surprisingly so. To me, it's hard for me to kind of switch my brain into canon, into Legends, but that doesn't mean that the writing isn't still like excellent or the characters aren't amazing. So I'm excited to kind of, again, be surprised by some of these stories that have already there. I could go read it right now if I wanted to, or anyone can, but I really like that they're kind of drawing people's attention to certain titles. That really helps me not feel as overwhelmed to dip into Legends a little bit. So I think that whole series has been super fun, and just the way that they're dedicating new art and to these editions and the paperbacks is really fun. So I'm sure we'll probably get like 3 waves of them or something. We got a lot last year.
I wonder when they're gonna stop.
If they will,
because I think there's like around 70 books from the at least the Del Rey timeline. So like I said, I need to catch up on those because I know you've been covering those books. It's reading and writing reviews, Star Wars reviews it's a full-time job.
It's a lot. We said that.
So
before.
you gotta kind of commit to what you can.
Yep.
And then when you have time, you can go back to it. But like I said, going back to it, to the video games, like the same thing, right? With the books, like even though they come out like, this month, you don't have to be like, well, I mean, if you want to join the conversation online, great. But that doesn't mean that once the release date, like after the release date, they're like not good anymore. Like there's still amazing stories that can be discovered years to come.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right? You don't want to overwhelm yourself, but when it arrives, to your house and like, oh, I just bought it 20 years later, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because you're going to enjoy it like it was day one.
Yep. And that's a really good reminder. I feel like, this day and age with, especially if you're interacting with, the fandom at any capacity online, it can kind of feel overwhelming or like you're behind, or if people are talking about something and there's that urgency and that urge to want to stay live or stay ahead. But that's a really good note. It's never too late to jump in. And I think that's even a good reminder for me that people are always jumping in. And so to always talk like inclusively about these books, even after they've come out, because it's really easy for us. We read them when they come out. And then in my mind, it's kind of like, okay, moving on to the next thing. But people are always jumping on, and there's always a great starting point. And I know that's a lot of questions I get, like, hey, I want to start, like, where do I start? And so I'm going to throw that to you. I know my answer to that question. When someone asks you, Fabio, like, where do I start? I want to jump into Star Wars books. Like, what answer do you give those people?
I would say the High Republic. Just because, well, it depends on what you're looking for, number one, right? So if you're not sure what you're looking for, then the High Republic is the best way to start, because it's a fresh set of new characters, new locations, new storytelling, new era, new timeline, everything. So if you're not sure what you're looking for, then the High Republic is a nice way to get into that specific timeline and just absorb it. If you're a fan of the original movies, then, I mean, pick and choose. There are so many stories out there, whether it's legends or canon, with the legacy characters. And same with the other ones, So I think it just depends on, instead of getting overwhelmed and be like, well, I need to read everything, right? Just pick and choose what you want to read. Like, what are the characters that you care about outside the literature world, and then just pick. Right? I would say, like, if you like Thrawn, obviously maybe you've heard of the character, you're intrigued by the character, you've seen him in Rebels. Then, I mean, the Ascendancy trilogy, the new canon trilogy by Timothy Zahn, the same author that created the character, are amazing stories that have some references to other stories, but they're still kind of contained with that trilogy of books. So I would say don't try to just randomly pick a book or like from a series or from a specific timeline that is a standalone book, because there might be too many references that might confuse you. So I would say just pick one trilogy or one set of books and then kind of stick with it. And then if you don't like it, pick another one. There are so many Star Wars stories out there that you don't have to be like a completionist where like, oh, I have to read every single book from the Del Rey timeline, from the Disney timeline. There's no way. There's just too many. It will take you years. And even then, they're just going to keep coming, right? So I was kind of like that when I first started. And then I'm like, I just gave up. I said, okay, I'm just going to do my thing and just enjoy it. Don't make it feel like it's stressful.
Pressure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, similarly, when people ask me that question, I answer kind of selfishly, because I just think back to when I really started on like diving into Star Wars books, and I had decided already to do canon. So like that was one check mark. Like same thing. I always ask them like, well, what do you want to do? There's more questions, right? It's not just like, where do I start? You want to ask more questions. But I always say my go-to is to say start with Lost Stars by Claudia Gray, because that was the book to me that started it all. And it really really like ignited my passion for wanting to keep going. And it didn't matter where I was going next. I just knew that I loved it and that I wanted more. And so I agree with what you say too. I went to the trilogies next. So it's like, maybe it's the Aftermath trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy. Pick a set of books where you can really like soak and get to know those characters. I feel like that's what a lot of people love about books, is just like that cozy, like comfort of getting to know like a set of characters and go with them on whatever journey it is. And I feel like Lost Stars does a really good job with that as a standalone book. And then, you know, like you said, picking the next thing, Alphabet Squadron trilogy. There's some really good trilogies out there to start. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. You know what? I just came up with a good idea. We should create a quiz for people that are just starting to get into Star Wars books.
We'll take that offline. That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. That we can just refer everyone here. Take this quiz.
Right? It's complicated, right?
It is.
You know, there are a lot of different variables, but I feel like there might be some, you know, there's something out there, right? But there, you know, one that it's really good, that's really going to help you pick a book.
Yeah. That's a really good. That's a good idea. We'll take that offline. Hey, that's a good transition, because I'm gonna wrap up with just some final questions, not necessarily Star Wars related, but obviously you can answer them however you want. So this is obviously the This Dad Reads podcast. You talked a little bit earlier about being a father and kind of what that means to you, but as a parent, what does passing on a love for books look like for you and your family?
I mean, it's, you know, let's just say that my son turned 1 and he's already watching like Star Wars Resistance. Obviously, he doesn't fully understand what's going on. He loves the droids. He loves BB-8. But just being able to see the spark in his eyes, like while, you know, reading a book or Star Wars book, one of those, you know, kids books to start with, or if you're watching a short clip or a Disney short, whatever, just seeing that wonder in his eyes is like everything. And it's something that obviously you don't get to experience when you're growing up. You get to experience it, but you don't get to see it from a different point of view. And to me, to see that, it's so great. Obviously, he might grow up and be like, I'm tired of Star Wars. I want to pick something else. That's great. That's fine. You know, find the thing that you like. But right now, seeing him, you know, wearing a Star Wars t-shirt and be like, you know, pointing at the characters and making, you know, noises and, you know, Wookiee noises and Darth Vader breathing and all that stuff, to me is like very rewarding. And not just because, no selfishly, you know, I'm not selfish about that. I'm like, yes, my son is a Star Wars fan, has to be a Star Wars. Yeah. But I think sharing Star Wars is a beautiful thing, whether it's with your kids, with your wife, because, you know, it's just like any other passion. Like you either have friends or family that they also share that passion, and sometimes you don't, and sometimes it's just you just diving into it and then finding people online. But I think seeing firsthand somebody else getting excited about something that you're passionate about is priceless. So to me, it's, you know, these books will be my son's books in the future when he's old enough to take care of them. So to me is, you know, sharing these things is more important than anything else. For sure.
Well, my son's, I'm getting him his own copies. These are mine. I don't know about you.
I said when he's ready.
Okay. I was thinking like when I die.
Hey,
whatever
I will
comes
teach
first.
him to take care of books. You know,
Yes.
that's the toughest lesson.
Exactly.
Books are not. Yeah, they're not fun. They're not for fun. You don't rip the pages.
Right. They're not toys. You take care of them.
You read the books.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Or there are certain ones you won't touch for a very long time. That's why they're high up on my shelf.
Yes. The $200 big book right there, the archives. It's gonna be a while. I just say that.
Yeah.
Anything that's signed,
exactly.
It's probably not gonna be touched.
Exactly.
Anyways.
Yep. My kids know. My man cave is basically like a kid's dream. There's like toys and stuff everywhere, but it's like I joke that I'm the dad from the Lego movie. It's like you don't have toys to play with them. You have toys to look at them. So, anyway,
it's a tough discussion to have
for sure
with your family.
They're good.
That's
They're
for
good.
sure.
They know, and obviously I let them touch and play with certain things. So, well,
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this second episode of the podcast, I introduced a segment that I'm calling Last Current Next, where I talk about the last book I read, what I'm currently reading, and what I'm wanting or hoping to read next. So I'm hoping to ask that of all my guests that I have on. So I want to throw that your way. What was your last, current, and next?
So my last book, let's say, does an audio drama count?
I counted it.
I'd say the last thing that I read, because obviously the script book is coming out like next month, is the Battle of Jeddah. But anything that you see that comes out Star Wars wise, the latest thing I read.
Yes.
Just because it just happens to be that we review everything.
We have the same answer. That was my last book too.
Exactly. Probably the last thing you read Star Wars wise, it's probably going to be very similar to what I've read. But surprisingly, what I'm currently reading is not Star Wars. It's not Red Rising. Yeah, I started it.
Okay.
I started it. I need to commit to it. I read like half a chapter, and then it's just been a busy week.
Okay.
But I've been reading the Trekker series. It's a comic book story that by Ron Randall, and it's been around since 1987. And I actually kind of discovered Ron Randall's art through his work on Shadows of the Empire Evolution comic series, Star Wars, right? And then I discovered that he's done this really long run of comics that are kind of like sci-fi noir, kind of like between Blade Runner and Star Wars and other things. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm just reading the complete journey of like all the books, and then diving into the later ones. So I'm really enjoying that. And then what I'm reading next, whatever comes out next for Star Wars, right?
Finishing Red Rising.
I will commit to it. I just need to go to bed earlier so that I don't fall asleep while reading the book.
I feel that.
I've been watching too many shows at night.
There you go.
And then it's too late, and I'm like, I read a few pages, and then
you're done.
I'm just passed out.
I get that.
But I promise I'll commit to it.
I'll hold you to it. Don't worry. Well, thank you. Those were great answers, and I totally understand that vibe. It's so funny because you're reading that Trekker series. There's kind of a Star Wars adjacent author. So I'm finishing up the it's a book by Chuck Wendig. It's his latest novel called Wayward. It's a sequel to another book he wrote last year. So that's so funny that I feel like that's a good place to also like branch out, is to like find authors that you like, that you've read in Star Wars, and just read their other stuff. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why Star Wars is so great, because it's not just Star Wars. It's so many people that are involved, like so many talented authors. And if you fall in love with their work, like for example, for me, Cavan Scott is one of my favorite authors, and I'm reading his comic run called Dead Seas. So if you find an author that you like, you want to kind of branch out of Star Wars. I know it's really hard sometimes because you just love the franchise
you don't want to
so
leave.
much, but. Yeah. Exactly. But if you might find things that you like outside of that, and if it happens to be a Star Wars author that you love, then even better.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining today, Fabio. I had a great time chatting. Looking forward to what's coming this year. And obviously, we will be around reviewing and talking about everything that we don't know and everything that we do know about coming up this year. So thanks again for joining. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
All right. See you. Before I go, I wanted to give a couple of shout outs to folks who have already left me 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Lucid Sound said, "Fabulous podcast debut. Excited to see what comes next." And the Nerdy Bookshelf wrote, extremely excited to hear what's on the mind of one of the coolest bookstagrammers I know. Thank you so much to these two. I'm planning to do more 5-star shoutouts every so often on the show. So if you have a chance to leave me a 5-star review, I'd really, really appreciate that. That's a wrap on episode 2 of This Dad Reads. Thanks for talking your 2023 reading goals with me, and I want to thank my guest, Fabio Fiori, for joining me to talk about Star Wars in the new year. Take us out, Casey. Thank you so much for listening. For more of my content, visit my website at thisdadreads.com for full book reviews, interviews, and articles. Follow me on socials at This Dad Reads on Twitter and Instagram. This Dad Reads, the podcast, is produced by Aravis Industries and me. Special thanks to my editor, Jeremy Tuttle, and to Coma-Media for the use of their song Bounce. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice and leave me a 5-star review. It really helps. Catch you next time.